Hey everyone, this is Chloe from Equinox Atelier. I am a candle maker living in the Scottish Highlands or on the borders of, and I thought I would take you along with making some new candles. So we're going to make 3 of each of the new scents that we're launching in a few weeks. I'm going to do 1 restock with 3 candles, and then I'm doing 2 batches of 3 for some Christmas testing. I do have a couple oils coming for some more Christmas testing. But I like to do batches of 3, 3, 3, 3, and 3 just because it's a manageable number. And I don't really sell a ton all at once. So if you sell me out on the first day, that's a nice problem to have. So I thought I would just chat a little bit while I wick some of these candles about the general process of candle making, testing, and selecting scents for those of you that have never made a candle. And for candle makers that are watching this, let me know what your favorite things are in the comments. So I actually still use Wick tabs. So these come from a lot of different candle making supplies shops. I use Candle Shack to get these. I think these are the 15 millimeter size round wicks. I'm also using CL10 wicks. There's lots of different types of wicks. That's a whole fun testing piece, but these CL10 size really work well with the soy wax that I have and the essential oils that I use. So that works out for me. I think a size 10 would be way too big if you're using a lot of fragrance oils in a size this big. But I've actually, speaking of fragrance oils, I used to use between 6 and 10%, it really depended on the blend, fragrance oil to soy wax mixture. And that worked well. You have to do a lot of burn testing to see if that fragrance load is going to work well for a clean, nice burn down, or if it's going to burn too hot. Really does depend on the ingredients. I've found though, so far, and I'm going to eat my words now that I'm doing testing, saying it out loud. I've found that luckily, so far, all of the essential oil blends that I've been making work really well with a sized up wick. So I used to use also either a 6 or an 8 size wick. And so size 10 is working really well for these. And I go way down on the load. Now everyone says oh, essential oils aren't as potent. You're going to have to use a lot more essential oils. I haven't really found that. I don't know. You guys tell me if you think that they're not smelly enough, but I've been using a 3% load and it doesn't drown the wick and it burns really nice with the size 10 wick for me. And so far I've had great success and it's been uniform across the board. That's why I say I'm going to eat my words. Do this testing suddenly, it's not going to work for these scents. I also use these 180 milliliter jar size. That's just the most convenient and most available size here in the UK for totally annealed candle worthy glass. That's the other thing about making candles. If you're going to make candles at home, is making sure that you're choosing a vessel that's going to withstand really high heats. So annealing is a type of process that they use for things like Pyrex dishes that go in ovens and stuff that can withstand a lot of heat without shattering. And there's other processes you can look into that just makes glass more durable. But I would definitely make sure you're going with that type of glass. If you're going to be making them in a different type of vessel, like maybe a ceramics vessel or something like that. Again, just make sure you're getting from a reputable supplier and that you're confident that they won't shatter in high heat. Because if it shatters and you're not watching the candle and the wax goes everywhere, you will set your house on fire. And that's not what people want. So that goes for if you're wanting to make them in fun, funky vessels, just making sure that you're choosing ideally something that's straight up and down. So when something curves in and out, it can have an uneven burn. And that can also make it more dangerous. So things like cups and stuff like that can be more dangerous. Also, I wouldn't make them in something like a wine glass or a margarita glass or any of those kind of fun glasswares because they tend to be very thin and they won't hold up to heat. So just a couple safety things about picking your vessels. I went with amber glass because when I first launched the business, I was using the name Apothecary, so Equinox Apothecary, and I had the design style. Everything was going to be you're grabbing something off of an apothecary shelf. So that's why the labels, I selected a size label or a shape label, I should say, that was and a style where it's as if it is just a pharmacist from 1910 has scrawled something on the side and is selling this as a sort of like apothecary blend. So I kept that label style. I kept the jars. I really like them. I think they're unique. There's a lot of candle makers out there that you do use the amber jars, and I think that those look really cool. But they all tend to have like a big square label in the middle, and I just wanted to have something visually a little different. So that was working out nicely. Some people don't use the pads that I'm using. They'll use glue, or sometimes they'll maybe like dip it in wax and stick it in. I don't mind the pads, honestly. I think it makes it really easy to clean and like recycle or reuse your jars, because with just a little heat, you can flash these with, when you're done with the candle, you can flash these with a hairdryer, or you can put them on a baking tray in the oven at like a low heat and just like melt some of the wax. And it will also melt the adhesive, so you could just quickly grab the wick and pull it out of there. So I like it. And the bottom, I have a big candle safety CLP label here anyway, so it's not like you can see anything. And what's also nice about these wicks is there's about a centimeter, I'd say, of metal here, so that it forces you to not burn it all the way to the bottom. Now, you should always leave about 1.5 to 2 centimeters wax at the bottom and not burn all the way down, because the bottom can get really hot and, again, potentially shatter. But when we do candle testing, to be compliant, you do burn them all the way down. So you burn it until the wick puts itself out. And I've never obviously had a problem, or I wouldn't be selling the candles. You can also get wick centering tools, like placing tools. I just have done this so many times that I'm pretty good at doing it, like eyeballing it and getting it in the center. And my vessels are small or like shallow enough for me to stick my fingers in, as you can see, and just press it down a little bit extra. So I don't really need it. I think if I was manufacturing at a huge scale, I might try to figure out some kind of tool, because I could imagine this being quite tiring after a few hours on the old fingers. Okay, this is the last one. So I'm very jealous of everyone with cool wick the centering tools that keep them in the center. I think the clothespin style looks really cute. I have these ugly ones. I got them from Amazon the first time I ever made candles. I decided to make 45 candles just for myself, because I was burning through them all the time. And that's how I got into candle making, was I decided to start making my own candles, since I was using them all the time in meditation. So I got these on Amazon, and I just haven't ever changed, because I think they work fine. They have different sort of like sizes, and depending on the size vessel, you could put it this way or this way, depending on just like what keeps it the tightest. For me, with these vessels, putting it like this works best. You just grab the center tool. I then kind of like hold it like this so that I can pull it into the center. And then when you shift it so it's like this, it pulls it really tight. So it's really nice, keeps it nice and straight. You don't want a wick that's leaning or too on one edge, because then it will burn unevenly. You can get tunneling. You can also get, again, the glass getting too hot. So in terms of coming up with new blends and scents, when I was using fragrance oils, used to try like small little samplers from Candle Shack. They're a Scottish business, love them. Also started by somebody who used to be in the music industry, so love that as well. A little bit of solidarity there. And I really love their scents. They're really high quality. They always smell really nice. And I would take them, experiment with them. Sometimes I'd blend them together. The thing with blending your own blends is you have to have a safety data sheet, if you're going to sell them, to have all of the individual constituents or like chemical compounds analyzed to see if they're at a safe level, and then to figure out what warnings you need to put on the CLP label. So it's more expensive to do it that way. There are people who will do it for you. And if you're in the UK and you need a recommendation, I'm happy to tell you the people that I use, because they charge about £50 or so per blend. So it's definitely worth it. But it does also restrict the amount of like new blends you can come out with, because it's expensive to put it out there or to make your own. With essential oils, when I went down to just single essential oils, that did make it nicer, because very often a supplier of essential oils for the purpose of making like candles and things like that will have already done a CLP label, like a safety, will already have done an SDS sheet for you at like up 10% or something like that. And I'm using way below the 10%, so 10% is way more than enough. But when I also started using my own essential oil blends, again, the same thing. You have to get your own safety data sheets for those blends and put them together. So I'm giving you a little peek behind that curtain because if you're making them for yourself, like you don't really have to worry about this. But if you are selling them, whether it's candles, wax melts, room mists, anything like that in the UK and indeed in the EU, because we're still using EU regulations for now, when it comes to this stuff, you do just have to have all of those things. And then they have to be on your label. I've run out of little topper thingies. I'll find some more. I'm very jealous of people in areas that maybe don't have as much regulation on things like candles because it's seemingly easier to put out a lot of new scents as seasonally and things like that. And I think it's really great for the business, but it's really hard in the UK. It's hard in terms of like it's time consuming and a lot of admin, but it's also just expensive to do all of this for new scents, and that's why I typically don't do that many. So what you're seeing here is going to be these 3 new core scents. So I'll have 6 core scents, then 2 Christmas scents, which we're testing. There'll be a 3rd Christmas scent, which I'm waiting on an oil for before I make that blend. And then there'll be 2 wax melts. So that'll be it for probably the next year, I'd say, just because, again, it's a lot of testing, a lot of expense that goes into it. So that's just a little bit of insight into how all of that works. I'm going to put these aside and then I'll get my melter out and we'll get ready to start melting. Okay, here is my small or medium-sized melter. I would love to get one of those really big ones, but I just don't make enough candles at one time to really need one. But it would be nice to just be able to like flick it on and not have to worry about refilling it when I do make larger batches. One little hack I have that I made like at the very beginning of making these was I printed out and laminated recipes for all the different sized things. So, for example, if I want to make a batch at 3%, I can make a batch of 8 at 3%, 400 or for 1165 grams of wax and 35 grams of fragrance. And if I am doing blends, I also have things like 1 part would be this, 3 parts would be that, just like easy math. So I don't have to be sitting there doing math before I do each of my things. However, I don't have them for all the batch sizes. So today we're making 18 candles. So let's see. Hey Siri, what's 146 times 18?
146 times 18 is 2,628.
2,628, did you say? So 2,628 is the amount of wax that I'm going to need to fill into this. It might be too much, so we're going to give it a go and see. I'm going to start by using up what's in these tubs, and then probably off camera, I'm going to have to figure out the flake situation because I don't have my scooper anymore, which is unfortunate. It's probably going to make a big mess, and you don't need to be looking at that. So tear this, I think is what you call it. All right, zero it out, 387.3. I'm going to grab my calculator, actually. Just gonna slice this baby up to make it easier to melt down. Gotta say, very excited. I don't have to cut these anymore. They're very annoying to cut and they make a mess. And for someone who's neurodivergent and hates things, even on gloves, gives me the ick. So glad that was the last ever tub. So I still need 1,435 grams of the flake variety. I reckon I've got about enough space. I'm going to turn this one, which I just got off Amazon. It doesn't even have a brand name. It does have like a little temperature thing on here. It's very approximate, but it's nice. It lets me feel confident that I'm not melting it too hot. And then I've got one of these gun thermometers to check the temperature, make sure I'm not overheating and know when to pour. I saw this being used in some sci-fi movie. It was Project Hail Mary. They used a thermometer gun and they pretended it was like a CO2 reading or thing or something, I think. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't a real piece of science tech. And I was like, oh my God, Ryan Gosling's going to make some candles. It was very exciting for me. Guys, nightmare scenario, the spout for this was open and it's like not even fully in there. I don't know what has occurred, but wax started going everywhere. So all my nice measuring for naught. We're just going to have to try to put too much in and then hope for the best. I'm going to be pouring it out to measure the fragrance oil loads anyway. Look at this mess. In case anyone was wondering, the new 16K Candle Shack 464 European blend are in pellets. They're super cute. Look at this. What a satisfying sound. Yeah, I got to clean this up. But we'll come back to it. What a nightmare. This is my nightmare. Hey Siri, what time is it? That was my literal worst case scenario. If you are a candle maker, you will know the fear, and I unfortunately didn't catch it on camera, of when that spout was open and the wax was a flow-in. So I also think I'm gonna need to plug in my scale in a minute. Okay, let's measure out at least one fragrance oil, and then what I like to do is work. Actually, I don't even need that. Normally, I measure the fragrance oils in a little fragrance oil thing and put it directly into like the pot. But in this case, we're just melting wax and we're going to be pouring it out into a pitcher. So I can put the fragrance oil right into that pitcher. So that's what I'll do. I'll go find my pitcher. Okay, I think I'm actually going to use the Chandler and Me pitcher tool. I mean, it is a pitcher, but it has its own stir inside. And I just like how easy this is to clean, and it fits 3 candles really nice. So we'll do that. So 3 times 4 is 12. I need 12 grams. I think I'll start with this scent. This is the Solstice Spice reformulated pure essential oil. It's really nice. It's orange, clove, cinnamon, all the good things. So to measure this out, we are aiming for 12 grams. Okay, I'm going to just do a little tidying up. This looks like it's about halfway done. The whole top half is melted, but the flakes or pellets have formed a mega pellet. Break that up a little bit. Let it do its thing. Like with all ADHD time management concerns, I have started this project. It probably will take me another few hours to get all the individual scents poured and everything, and I do have swimming that I'm going to tonight. So I'll see how much I can get done. The nice thing about having the melter is I can just turn it off and turn it back on when I get back to finish it up if I have to. Just perfect. My dog is now in the room. Gotta move him out of the room. I'm just going to stir this because I realized it was cooling down too quickly while I was farting around with the dog. And I want to make sure it's all blended in before it gets too cool. And then I'll let it sit for a bit and then we can pour. Okay, so I'll actually pour the rest of these on the other table. But instead of having to set everything up for the camera again, I'm just going to illustratively show you the pour here. So I kind of aim here, go slow to make sure there's no bubbles. Build just up to the lip. And there you have it. It is really satisfying to pour candles. This is my favorite part of it. I hate the standing in front of something hot and all of the wax going everywhere. Oh my gosh. But I really do love the pouring part. It's very satisfying. And it's really nice to watch them set and to snip off the wicks as well. Merry Christmas. So now it's just a rinse and repeat for each of the other scents. I think I'll be able to wrap this up before swimming, hopefully. And when everything is cured, probably tomorrow, I will snip the wicks and we'll finish up. Welcome back. It's day 2 and my candles have primarily set. So I thought I would conclude the video by showing you what they look like finished. So here is one of my Christmas scents. As you can see, it's a little orangey, and that's actually the orange essential oil colors coming through. The most satisfying part of this is definitely the snipping. So you can see it's a little bit cracked, and so I'm going to have to poke this and make sure that there's no sinkholes and then smooth the top. My top smoothing tool, which is I think really meant to be like an embossing heat gun, essed the bed yesterday when I was cleaning up all the wax on the table. So we'll plug it in today and see if it runs, but it was not running yesterday. So that could be a bit of a issue. This one unfortunately slipped, as you can see. So this one's going to need a lot more help. Thankfully, it is a tester, but I'm going to have to rip this open to pull the wick back into the center. And you can see there is definitely a sinkhole there where the wick was before it moved. So that's unfortunate. That's not what you want to see. Last one. So yeah, there you have it. I'm going to have to snip all the tops off of these as well. And then I'll get to testing. So you have to wait for them to cure for at least a week. I like to wait 2 weeks, and then I'll do the burn testing on the Christmas scents. But the rest of these are ready to go. I actually do have a couple other scents that I've been testing that I could do a burn test video on if you're interested. So I might do that another time. Let me know. So the rest of today is going to be focused on 2 things. One, checking how I like the scents as wax melts and how they vibe with the new toppings. So yesterday I had some excess in one of the candles and I did pour it just to see what the soy wax smelled like, but I do use a different soy wax for wax melts. So I need to actually make wax melts and see how they burn. This new reformulated salsa spice, though, smells really, really good, really clean and natural, but exactly how you remember salsa spice. So I'm excited for this one. I also, of course, got some sliced oranges and cloves that will go on the top of that wax melt. And then a new wax melt that I'm going to offer is frankincense, and I'm going to top it with frankincense and myrrh as a little blend. So that'll be some testing I need to do. And the second thing that I'm going to do today is finalize all of the descriptions and get everything ready to launch the 3 new scents on my website. So I've got some of the candles here. I'm giving them a sniff and trying to encapsulate what they are. So coming up with the names and descriptions for candles is actually the hardest part, because I want to evoke a certain scene or image. And this whole line has been about places in Scotland. So even if you've never been, I want you to kind of like be able to imagine yourself there by smelling the candle. And this one is called Skara Brae, which is an old, I guess it's Neolithic, megalithic, something lithic site on the Orkney Islands. It smells very, to me anyway, the seaside. It's got maritime pine in it, lang-lang and geranium. It is floral, but it's not floral forward. So it feels to me very ozonic, like you're in the dark North Sea. It smells kind of mysterious almost as well. It's really, really nice. I've also been designing some ways to try to show, I'll put them on the screen, but I've been creating these visuals to also accompany the candles, where you can see in a color palette, in some images, and also see the places in Scotland kind of incorporated in one scent profile. So hopefully it makes it a little easier for you to choose which would work best for you. Pittenweem Harbor, smells so nice. It's very bright. It is a floral citrus type of scent. Again, it reminds me of the seaside, which is why I picked Pittenweem Harbor, but it also reminds me of just colorful seaside towns, and it is more of a brighter, saltier floral flavor, which is really nice as well if you like those types of fresh scents. And the third of the 3 new scents, and this one I think is my favorite of all 6 scents, but that's because I love patchouli. So this is called West Highland Way. I imagined that if you were walking the West Highland Way and you're hiking through the Highlands, you're getting dirty, muddy, the peat is coming up through the ground when it rains, and you're just smelling this like dark, rich, earthy, green forest. And that is what this West Highland Way candle is to me. So it's patchouli, Himalayan cedar, lang-lang, and myrrh. So you can imagine it has a sort of exotic smell, a very earthy, woody smell, but that lang-lang brings it like this little soft floral sweetness over the top. It's really nice. And I'm not, suggesting aromatherapy to you, but patchouli is an aphrodisiac, so leave that one burning on a date night. So that's it. That'll be my task today. Write those descriptions, get everything ready to launch in a few days. I also desperately need to clean the studio, because what is off camera is the absolute mess and chaos from yesterday. I need to scrub down all those surfaces better that got wax all over them, and I'll somehow squeeze that in. But first, I'm going to actually head to the library, return a book that I did not like and did not read, DNF'd that book, and meet my friend for a coffee. So when I get back, I'm going to lock in, edit this video, get it ready to post tomorrow morning, and get the whole studio clean. I'm going to try to post every Sunday at 11 a.m. British time for as long as I can. So please pop me in the comments things that you'd like to see, things you want to hear about, and I will try to get those made for you. Thanks, everyone. It's been Chloe. See you later.